Good afternoon, children. We will start with our lesson number 5, Strategies for Enhancement in Food Production. As the name tells, children, this lesson is all about methods. Strategies means method for increase in food production. Now the question arises, why should this be done for increase in production? And the answer is because especially in a country like ours, we have rising population which has to be supported and we should cater to the needs of the growing population. So definitely we must have methods to adopt for various food production. So let us start with the things that we have to learn. First, let's throw the light on this point that the conventional methods, that means the age-old practices of food production, they're not sufficient to cater the needs of growing population. And what is the solution of this problem? The answer is plant breeding. That today, the plant breeding by various techniques, it has made us self-sufficient not only to cater the needs of our rising population, but also we are in a position to export food to various other countries of the world. All right. So, what is plant breeding? It is a technique of genotypic improvement of economically important crop plants to produce new crops which are better suited for cultivation, give better yield, and are disease resistant. That means the scientists, they have worked upon the genes of various economically important plants. We can say the type of genes, that is genotypic improvement. And why have they done this? So as to get better quality, better yield, and also the plants which are resistant to various diseases. Now, briefly let us talk about something called as Green Revolution. Now, Green Revolution, there is a name what always comes up with this practice, and it is Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. This Green Revolution, firstly, it means the tremendous rise in food production. Earlier, we did not have the capacity to grow so much of food, but today we have drastically changed to a platform, a stage where we are increasing the food production in a tremendous supply, right? So who made it possible in our country? Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. The country today is not just self-sufficient but also exports food grains to other countries. The revolution which has adopted new plant breeding techniques for developing HYVs. The full form means high yielding varieties and disease resistant varieties, especially of wheat, rice and maize. In the same scenario, various Mexican varieties of wheat, they have been worked upon because they were introduced from Mexico to our country. All right. Now, something I like to tell you here very clearly. Dr. M.S. Swaminathan we call as father of Green Revolution in India. But when you're talking of a global level, when you say only father of Green Revolution, you're not mentioning our country. It is Norman E. Borlaug, Borlaug. So you have to be very clear whether you're talking of the father of Green Revolution in India or overall. All right. So definition, Green Revolution, the phase of tremendous increase in food production. Now, let me tell you one thing clearly, children, some facts about our agricultural figures. India is an agricultural country, we all know it, right? 62% of India's population depends on agriculture. Also, agriculture accounts for some 33% of India's GDP, which means gross domestic product. Now, around 1947, that is the time of independence, India's wheat production was some around 6.5 tons. And this was far less than the actual requirement. That means many parts of the country, the people did not get the supply of wheat that was required by them. But today, look at the change from 1947 to the year 2020. The country has not only become self-sufficient, but has also got surplus of food production so that it can export. So how is it possible when we ourselves were not getting food properly in 1947 and to this tremendous change today? The answer is Green Revolution. So I hope you have understood What is this? This is the phase of tremendous increase in food production and this is called as Green Revolution. Two names, you must learn them by heart. Also children, before we move further, we have made tables and this is directly to be learnt by heart. Table number 1, this is the table. This is about some disease resistant varieties of crops developed in India. That is, all these are Indian names, right? They are the Indian names and they have been developed in India specially to be resistant to these diseases. That means in such plants, these diseases will not be found at all. Usually these are very damaging diseases and used to affect the yield very badly. But today we have these varieties. If we grow them, right, in some plants, we will never face these diseases. So let us see, we have to learn them properly. Crop number 1, wheat. Variety is Himgiri. So these are usually the Hindi names you'll find because we're talking of the varieties in India. They're resistant to leaf and stripe rust and hill bunt. Second is Brassica. It is Pusa Swarnim or Karan Dry, and this is resistant to the disease called white rust. Third, cauliflower, and the variety is Pusa Shubra but this is the other, Pusa Snowball K1, right, like this only, capital K-1. This is resistant to black rot and curl blight and black rot. So this is one name, black rot and curl blight, and this is only black rot. So there are two diseases that it's resistant to. Fourth, cowpea. It is variety is Pusa Komal and it is resistant to bacterial blight. Fifth is chili, Pusa Sadabahar, and it is resistant to chili mosaic virus, tobacco mosaic virus and leaf curl diseases. So they are the only ones that are mentioned in your course, children. Please learn them all by heart because they are directly asked in your examinations and you pick up good marks because you have to learn. Table number 2, this is also very important table, again to be learnt, and here it is, some common insect pest resistant varieties of crops. So here we had disease resistant varieties and here you have pest resistant. Pest means those damaging small insects in the crop fields. So let us name. First is Brassica. It is also called as rapeseed mustard. In Hindi you call it as sarson, right? The variety is Pusa Gaurav and the insect or the pest that it's resistant to is aphids. Second, flat bean, variety Pusa Same 2 and Pusa Same 3. The insects that cannot attack it, jassids, aphids and fruit borers. Third is bhindi, lady's finger or okra. The variety is Pusa Savani and Pusa A4. And the insects like shoot and fruit borers cannot attack it. I hope the two tables, please clearly write down and learn it by heart. They're very, very important. Now, into these two pages, we have discussed about plant breeding definition, green revolution, some figures about agricultural production and the tables. Let us talk about objectives of plant breeding. Objective means what is the aim of this plant breeding that we are adopting. There are many to get desirable and beneficial characters. Number 1, high yield, that is increased in the yield and improved quality should be there of the plants that are produced. Second, resistant to diseases and pests, that is all the diseases caused by various viruses, fungal agents and bacteria, they should be avoided. Third, early maturity. The short period of maturity reduces the overall production cost and enables the farmers to raise additional crop. So this is an advantage to the poor farmers. Then abiotic resistance. Abiotic means the non-living factors like salt concentration, salinity, extreme temperatures, dry, hot or cold temperatures and drought conditions. So this should be resistant. Then better qualities like we can have preferred qualities like plant height, erect or trailing habit, better nutritious value, good taste, etc. and better adaptability. That is, the new plants should be better adapted to new areas and climate. So this is all that we keep in mind before we make the objectives for our plant breeding techniques. Moving further, we have another table to be learned by heart, and this is called as Table 3, List of examples of some Indian hybrid crops. HYVs we call, or the high yielding varieties. This is also to be learned, children. All sometimes their Hindi names, that is Indian names are there. Crop, wheat and Kalyan Sona, Sonalika, Larma Rojo 64A, Sonara, Sharbati Sonara. So these are some 5 names that are high yielding varieties of wheat. Coming to rice, it is Jaya and Ratna. Maize, Protina, Ratan, Ganga and Deccan. Sugarcane, Saccharum officinarum. And millets, hybrid bajra, PHB, BJ, BK and Jowar, CSH series. So once again, children, these all varieties, they have been introduced in India, especially to make sure that the high yield is being benefited by this use of varieties, and they have been asked by the syllabus to be learned by heart. So please learn them 3 tables very clearly. All right, 1, 2, and this is the 3rd. Now let us talk about main steps in plant breeding. There are broadly 6 steps of plant breeding. Before the experts, they talk about devices or programs that are carried out in a systematic way. There are outlined, and this is, we can say, it's a way of practice adopted worldwide, right, by various private institutions or by government or bodies. There are 6 steps in all for betterment of plant breeding techniques or the practicing of plant breeding. Then number 1, it is germplasm collection for variability. Number 2, evaluation and selection of parents. 3, cross hybridization between selected plants. 4th, selection and testing of superior recombinants. 5th, testing, release and commercialization of new cultivars. And 6th is multiplication of improved seeds. Now let us talk about, children, what is germplasm collection. Germplasm means it is the sum total of all alleles of genes that are present in the existing and past varieties of a crop and its wild relatives that are present. So the sum total, this entire thing of alleles of the genes that are present in the existing crops today as well as the past varieties, it is called as germplasm. That means whatever combination of genes, suppose we are planning to improve the wheat plant. So we'll start collecting all the varieties of wheat, all the genes present today, and also through various banks, etc., seed banks, etc., from our past varieties. So this entire collection that we will have in our hand of the various genes or the alleles of genes will be called as germplasm. So suppose we are planning to improve a plant, step 1 is to collect all possible varieties today and in the past. So in this we talk about germplasm collection. It means it is the collection of plants and seeds having all diverse alleles for the genes in a given crop. This could be wheat, it could be rice or lady's finger or brinjal or any fruit, etc. Germplasm collection, it is done by, we can say it is, the collections are conserved live-in seed banks. The seed banks, we can talk about the conserved seeds, that means seeds that are preserved. They are of 2 types, orthodox seeds and recalcitrant seeds. Orthodox means the seeds are kept at low temperatures of -10 degrees to -20 degrees under anaerobic conditions. And then they are grown periodically to obtain fresh seeds. Imagine they are kind of freezed, right, to a very low temperature under anaerobic, that means without oxygen, and time to time they have to be grown periodically, right, so that the seeds may be made fresh again. Here recalcitrant means it is different from the previous, because instead of low temperature, here the temperature will be room temperature and the conditions will be purely aerobic. Instead of anaerobic, here will be aerobic. So recalcitrant means seeds are under aerobic humid conditions at room temperature for shorter duration. The germplasm is conserved as live plants in orchards, gardens along with fruit trees. Tissue culture laboratories, we call a word as cryopreservation. That means a preservation which is at a very low temperature, that is provided by liquid nitrogen minus 196 degrees centigrade. This is used to preserve shoot cultures for all types of germplasm under controlled aseptic lab conditions. Aseptic means that are, we can say, sterile, that is totally disease free laboratory conditions, and the cryopreservation is done. So this is all about step 1, children, germplasm collection for variability. What did we discuss? We discussed about collection from all sorts of sources, present and past, right, and how it is done. Especially when we talk of seeds, we'll talk of seed banks working by 2 methods, orthodox seeds and recalcitrant seeds, and we also discussed about tissue culture laboratories. Coming to step number 2, evaluation and selection of parents. Now you have got a variety of plants in your hand and you have to evaluate and select. That is, what is the desired quality we must work upon, right? So in this, let's talk about plants with desired characters are selected phenotypically. Just now you're seeing the plants from outside only, so only you can talk about physical features, right? Then selected plants are grown under controlled conditions. The plants that first you have selected over here, from this selected, first you have collected over here. The collection, thousands and lakhs of varieties you must be having. Now you have to come down to your chosen ones, which should be with the desired characters phenotypically. The selected plants are grown under controlled conditions, and the seeds from selected plants, they are harvested to raise the next generation. Alright, the 3 methods that are used, or we can say 3 different levels of selection of germplasm, they are by these methods: mass selection, pure line selection, and clonal selection. Let us talk about the biggest differences. This mass selection, you can imagine it is like selecting of seeds of selected plants and sowing them together, all together in the same field. And it is done in cross-pollinated plants. This is the biggest difference from the others. If mass selection is done in cross-pollinated, then pure line selection is done only in self-pollinated crops, whereas clonal selection is done in the plants which are multiplied by vegetative propagation, like potato, banana, sugarcane. So this is the biggest difference, children. Once again, before we move to the other details, this is done in cross-pollinated crops, self-pollinated crops, and then in the crops grown by vegetative propagation. Now here what we say is, step 1 is seeds of selected plants, they are sown together in the same field. Then when they are raised into plants, the plants grown are selected. Now these plants, seeds obtained from them are collected, grown again in the same field, and the process repeated again and again. So imagine it's like a cycle. Grow the seeds, sow the seeds, obtain the plants, again sow the seeds, again obtain the plants, again sow the seed, and repeat it again and again. Now what is the advantage of this? The advantage is that we get the best germplasm collected, and the drawback is there is no control over cross-pollination. As I told you, this is done in cross-pollinated plants. So because they are growing together, we cannot control cross-pollination. Coming to pure line selection, this is done in self-pollinated crops. The plants are selected on agronomic characters. Seeds are selected separately, sown in separate rows. See, here they were all sown together, but here we will make rows of plants, one row, second row, third row, and so on. So seeds are sown in separate rows. Plants with best qualities are selected from each row. Suppose this is the seeds line of seeds. We will select the plants with the from each row, and the seeds are selected. They are sown in separate rows again. The process is repeated again to get pure line plants. Because you're talking of in lines, you're growing the plants into rows, selecting and growing them separately of the best quality, right? And repeating the process endlessly from one to the other till you get the pure line plants. The advantage is crop plants with best genotype, they are isolated. And the disadvantage is it's the method which gives low yield, because from hundreds you're coming down to some 5, 3, 2, like that. And the appearance of undesirable features can also be obtained. Coming to clonal method or clonal selection. As I told you, this is done in those plants that can be multiplied by vegetative propagation. The advantage is it helps in conserving hybrid vigor and quality of crop. Hybrid vigor means increased vigor of the plants obtained by hybridization over the parent plants, right? Suppose a red colored flower plant is being hybridized with a white colored flower plant. In that case, suppose the outcome is pink. So this pink will have the increased vigor or vigorosity over the parents, right? So that's called as hybrid vigor. Disadvantages: new genetic variability cannot be introduced by this method of third, that is the clonal selection. Alright children, coming to the third step, it is cross hybridization between the selected plants. I hope you are not getting confused children. First we collected as many possible varieties. We talked of how to collect. Then we talked of growing them further by evaluation and selection. We have selected them, right, by various desired characters, and we have selected them by 3 methods. We had mass selection, pure line selection, and clonal selection, right? Now what is our next step? Now you have your selected plants in your hand. Suppose this is a male plant and this is a female plant. So naturally each plant will have your desired quality. Suppose this is having high protein content or quality, and this is having disease resistance. So individually they have one of the best qualities, but you are looking for a plant which has both. So let us hybridize them. Step 1 is we sprinkle the pollen grains of the desired male part over the stigma of the desired female part, right? The hybrids, step 2, the hybrids are obtained and the hybrids are selected. There are various types of hybridization that can be done: intravarietal, intervarietal, interspecific or hybridization, and intergeneric. Intra means within its own variety. That means plants belonging to the same variety. Intervarietal means between two different varieties but of the same species. Interspecific means between two different species. And intergeneric, that means between two different genera or genus. The procedure of hybridization: the plants, they are selected and isolated in step 1. Step 2, emasculation. Look at this. Suppose this is a flower having both the reproductive parts, that is male and female. From such a flower we will remove the male part, that is the androecium we will remove, and this removal of male part is called as emasculation, right? So this will be made artificially into a female part only. Date and time would be added on a piece of paper or a tag and will be recorded. So emasculation is that the stamens of the flowers are removed, and this is removed at the bud stage only. The next step is bagging. Female flowers, they are covered with a polythene or a paper bag to avoid fall of pollen grains from foreign area. Suppose now this plant which only contains the female part, first you remove the male part, you called it emasculation. Now the remaining female part will be secured into a polythene bag or a paper bag so that no pollen grain from outside can come and pollinate. The tagging is done. Tag means this paper is added, date and time is written, right, on the bagged flowers, and this is done. Now, fifth is that it is finally crossed with the required amount of pollen grains. That means your desired quality of pollen grains, they are sprinkled over the female flowers. So this was step number 3. That is here. Cross pollination, second also we've done, and coming to the third. Moving on to the fourth method, selection and testing of superior recombinants. Let us see how it is done. The selection of haploid plants with the desired characters, it is done. Selfing through several generations to produce inbred lines. Selfing means they are being selfed into the same plant itself. Third, crossing selected inbred plants to get F1 population, that means the first filial population. Fourth step, to get F1 seeds which are grown directly. And finally, selection in different in cell is done in a different way in self and cross-pollinated crops. How it is done? Selection in self-pollinated crops, it isolates the best homozygous genotypes present that represents a pure line, and these are called as pure line selections. Whereas when we talk of selection in cross-pollinated crops, populations have more of heterozygous than homozygous. These genotypes, that is the homozygous, are inferior and eliminated during selection. Always remember, children, the heterozygous genotypes, they are superior than the homozygous ones. Fifth point is the testing, release and commercialization of new cultivars. See, till here various experiments have been done towards the research, in direction of making the plants better by the research scientists. Now the scientists, they want to test their plants and then release and commercialize it. So how they do this? New hybrids, they are cultivated in research fields, evaluated for yield, quality, nutritional content, taste, color and disease resistance. They are cultivated for at least minimum of 3 growing seasons, right, at several locations in different climates, different temperatures, climates, humidity, everything they grow in at least 3 growing seasons. Performances of new varieties are compared with the old, and finally the best varieties, they are isolated and released by the release committee for cultivation in given area. Coming to our last topic for today is the 6th step, that is multiplication of improved seeds. There is a body we call as NSC, National Seed Corporation, which raises seeds for improved varieties. The seeds are certified and packed in sealed packets. The packet has date of test, purity of test, that is how much pure it is, 99% for example. That absence of weed. Weed means any wild plant that could be present, but it's totally absent with. Then presence of inert matter, not more than 1%, and special features if any. So everything is written. So I'll be stopping over here, children. From the beginning, we talked about plant breeding. The outline of plant breeding with Green Revolution we discussed. The 3 tables I have given to be learned by heart. Objectives of plant breeding. And 6 main steps in plant breeding we discussed in detail. Please read the pages in the beginning of chapter, and I'm sure after reading the textbook pages, if you read this or you go through this video, will be better understanding, right? We have done all this till over here. So these pages I am going to send. You can sit and make the notes and read the text. Thank you.